Hey everybody, Zion over here from Nintendo Life, and today we're here to share with you our review of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this review was originally written by Mitch Vogel for NintendoLife.com, but was reworked into this video by me. Nintendo and Atlus seem to have a weird relationship when it comes to Persona games. Joker from Persona 5 made his way into Smash, we've received a few spin-offs like Persona Q and Q2 on 3DS, and 5 Strikers on Switch, and while Shin Megami Tensei on the other hand gets treated incredibly well, we've yet to see a single mainline Persona game release on Switch. And in a move that should surprise no one at this point, the Switch is getting Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, a remaster of a fighting game that serves as a sequel to both Persona 3 and Persona 4. I'm just gonna let you process that for a second, and okay. As oddly positioned as this project may feel, we're happy to report that Persona 4 Arena Ultimax proves to be a fun and solid fighter on Switch, one that could appeal to both fans of the Persona series and to fighting game newcomers as well. First off, let's go over everything that's included here. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax packs in quite a lot of content, featuring the stories of both the original Persona 4 Arena and the Ultimax version, alongside all the DLC from across those two games. This means that all the additional fighters, a staggering amount of cosmetic options for each of them, and an additional story mode have all been thrown in. Behind the scenes, this also includes all of the 2.5 content from the Japanese exclusive arcade release of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax as well, which integrated a bunch of balancing changes to make for an overall better fighting experience. In short, this is the most feature-rich version of the game yet, all with the added benefit of being portable now as well. The story mode itself primarily follows the members of the investigation team a few months after the events of Persona 4, with the gang all getting back together for Golden Week. Conveniently, the Midnight Channel has returned at the same time and is now broadcasting a mysterious P1 Grand Prix that seems to be hosted by a version of their friend Teddy. After a few members of the team go missing, the remaining members opt to step back into the TV world to join the competition in the hopes of finding their lost friends and getting to the bottom of what's going on. For a fighting game, the story here feels fine, but it suffers from some absolutely glacial pacing. Whereas the rich narrative of a typical Persona game is frequently punctuated by dungeon runs, school trips, and social outings, there's no such content to break up the wordy monotony here. The story is exclusively delivered to you via visual novel-esque static screens, where characters read their lines, sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes at a time, before you finally get to pick up the controller and fight in a battle. And then after the 3 minutes that it may take for the fight to be over, you then get thrown back into another lengthy setup sequence, and the cycle repeats. This would be bad enough on its own, but things are exacerbated by the fact that there are multiple routes to take through the story, with each taking the perspective of a different character. This means that you'll frequently be retreading the same ground again, only you're privy to someone else's thoughts for this scene instead. All of this is to say that the lack of adequate gameplay elements in the story mode makes it a true test of one's endurance. Mashing A through a half hour of dialogue doesn't make the quick battle at the end of the gauntlet feel exciting. It feels exhausting. And while the plot itself does eventually develop into something mildly interesting, it's consistently dragged down by entirely useless scenes that pad out the runtime. Characters will take their sweet old time to talk about just about anything. They'll spend several minutes reflecting on where they're about to go before they actually go there. There's probably 5 hours of actual plot in here, yet it will take you 30 hours to get through it. And all that fluff may be a little more forgivable in the context of an RPG where you have lots of things to do around it, but it simply doesn't work in a fighting game. Luckily though, the actual fighting game parts of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax are excellent. Arc System Works, the developers of BlazBlue and Guilty Gear, certainly didn't disappoint in delivering an approachable take on 2D fighting with a ridiculously high skill ceiling. There are 22 fighters to choose from here, consisting of some newcomers and the majority of characters from Persona 3 and 4. Most of them also have a shadow version available that bumps that number even higher, all but guaranteeing that there's a fighter for every playstyle available. Whether you like to focus more on grapple attacks or on zoning, it feels like everybody fills a proper niche in the lineup and has their own distinct feel. A character's moveset usually incorporates a mixture of light and heavy attacks, throws, grabs, and special attacks, adding up to make for a dizzying array of ways to approach a battle. Beginners aren't tossed immediately into the fire either, as there's a decently informative practice mode that teaches you the basics of controls. If you still can't grasp the finer points of setting up combos, there's even the option to simply mash Y repeatedly to pull off a modest combo that at least makes you feel like you know what you're doing. The game may not feel nearly as approachable as, say, Super Smash Bros., but we felt that it provided enough accessibility that even someone with no experience with a fighting game could have quite a bit of fun with it. And for those of you that are more experienced, it feels there are near limitless options for thrashing your opponent about. Guard counters, persona breaks, reversal bursts, and many other fancy sounding techniques ensure that there is always something you could be doing to better optimize your offensive or defensive actions. What's nice about all of this though is that you know for a fact that you could play Persona 4 Arena Ultimax for dozens of hours and still not feel like you've completely gotten a handle on all of its nuances. It doesn't mean that you're not getting a full experience if you can't or won't take advantage of all these techniques, but there's nearly endless potential for honing your skills. If you're the kind of player who revels in pushing the limits of your dexterity, Arena Ultimax will prove itself to be more than worthy of your skill set. Those of you who want a gameplay experience more akin to the mainline games will probably gravitate towards Golden Mode, which sprinkles in some RPG elements and even social links to the base fighting gameplay. In Golden Mode, you level characters individually by clearing hundreds of floors of a dungeon. Every floor will present you with a new fighter with their own slightly modified stats and abilities, and you'll gain experience for each victory you manage. At each level up, you can then distribute stat points to buff up things like your attack damage and burst gauge, and you'll learn new active and passive skills that give you a helpful edge in the heat of battle. While Golden Mode doesn't massively shake up the core idea of the 2D fighting gameplay, we appreciated this cool approach to making the game feel a bit more like a single-player RPG. If nothing else, Golden Mode feels like a suitable answer to the text-heavy story mode. If you don't want to deal with the ridiculously long cutscenes there, you can find more than enough single-player content here to keep you happy for quite some time. Now for the review period, we didn't get to try out the online features, but we do think the Switch version specifically needs to be discussed here. All other versions of this re-release will be receiving an update later this summer that will add rollback netcode, but the Switch version won't be getting that feature for technical reasons. For those of you out of the loop, rollback netcode is basically a term for a smoother and more lag-free online experience, and is by far the preferred method of online implementation among fighting game fans. Every millisecond counts in a game as highly reliant on perfect timing around your button presses as this. And the fact that the Switch version won't be receiving this critical feature means that players who want to focus on climbing the ranks online will be best served picking up Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on other platforms if possible. Locally, we didn't notice any performance drops at all, but this doesn't mean much for those who plan on spending the bulk of their time battling players miles away from them online. And this lack of rollback doesn't necessarily mean the Switch version's online will be like playing chess through the mail. There's no escaping the fact that the online performance simply won't be on par with other platforms once the update is available. As for its presentation, the game doesn't disappoint in the slightest either. Arc System Works has done an excellent job of translating Shinchinori Sojima's iconic character designs into impressively animated and fluid fighter sprites that retain all the personality and style of their RPG counterparts. We especially appreciated how flashy some of the combo finishers could get, positively lighting up the screen in a tremendous fireworks display of pain. Each level, meanwhile, has a lot going on in the background, each depicting some richly detailed and twisted images of otherworldly locales. All this is backed by a high-energy soundtrack that mixes in some fun remixes of favorite tracks from Persona 3 and Persona 4 and actually other Persona games, with some jazzy, pop-rock new songs that fit in perfectly with the tone. Many will be pleased to know that there's dual Japanese and English language audio packed in for dialogue as well, and both casts deliver strong, satisfying performances, though the repetition of some lines can be a little irritating during longer sessions. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax may not be the Persona game everyone's been clamoring for on the Switch, but we're certainly not complaining. The game offers up an approachable yet incredibly deep 2D fighting combat system, a neat RPG light mode that guarantees solo players will have lots to do, and all this is presented in Arc System Works' signature and striking hand-drawn art style. While the story mode is a complete bore and there's no rollback netcode in this version, we think Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on Switch is still absolutely worth your time. Although if you're going to be playing online, you may want to investigate the game on other platforms first. For portable fans, however, we give it a recommendation whether you're a fighting game enthusiast or you're just looking to give the genre a shot. This is definitely one of the better fighting games on the Switch. We here at Nintendo Life give Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. Be sure to let us know in the comments down below your thoughts and feelings on Persona 4 Arena as well. Let us know if you're going to be picking up a copy on Switch or potentially other platforms. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you go ahead and change your station to the Midnight channel and then click that subscribe button while you're there. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Zion from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there and we will see you all next time.